It sure seems like the Bengals pass that test every single time these days, right? I mean, like, how for real do you think the defending AFC champs are in a conference where we're more focused on the Mahomes and Allen of it all, Lewis?
I think you hit the nail on the head. Like their toughness, physically, and probably most importantly, mentally, is on par with any team in the NFL. Because it isn't always pretty for Cincy. It isn't, offensively or defensively. You look at the first couple series against Cleveland last week, and Myles Garrett is absolutely torturing Jonah Williams. He's torturing him. I mean, you see Jadeveon Clowney. I mean, they're hitting Joe Burrow on 3-step, but Joe can't get the ball out of his hand fast enough. And you're sitting there and you're going, "Oh my goodness, it's going to be the same thing with this team concerning, they just can't seem to block their edge rushers, and Joe's going to be running for his life, and who knows what's going to happen." But they stay in there, man. Joe makes plays that just kind of like defy what really should be happening, and it's because he's so smart. He's tough. You don't see him, complaining to his offensive lineman. You never see his facial expression change. And they hang in there. The next thing you know, there's no Tyler Boyd, there's no T. Higgins, but Jamar Chase makes a play. Samaje Perine makes a play. Joe Mixon makes a play. And a guy like, his name's escaping me. Oh, Trenton Irwin, the wide receiver. He makes a play. And next thing you know, this team has got you right where they want you. And then the defense just turns it up. Somebody makes a big sack, makes a big tackle for a loss. A defensive back puts a big hit on him. And since he comes out of there with a win. And that's because that team doesn't blink, and it all starts with that quarterback, man. He's special, and he is going to be – unless you can get him to start doubting himself, this team will never doubt himself.
I don't think that's ever going to happen on planet Earth. Well, Joe Burrow is playing and doing anything in his life, I would imagine, and he's not lost to the Chiefs, as we all know. He just beat them. What a huge, huge, huge finale on the worldwide leader Monday Night Football is going to be when Buffalo visits Cincinnati in Week 17. So, and the Buffalo offense, I know it's been discussed on NFL Live quite a bit lately about not looking the same way as it looked when it was on tilt for the first 8 weeks this season. Mahomes with a 3-interception game that let Denver back in. And you want to talk about balanced. I don't know if they care or not. I mean, they don't seem to want to run it or care to run it unless it's like, 90 seconds left to have Isaiah Pacheco angry run his way into the victorious locker room. I don't know. How do you handicap the AFC moving forward? Or if we're missing anybody right here, I'll give you the floor. Lewis?
No, I think, these teams all have ebbs and flows during the season, right, where they don't look as good as you think they should look. Mm-hmm. And then from week to week we'll say, well, this team's in trouble. This team's in trouble. And, I think we expect too much from teams like Kansas City, or even a team like Buffalo that can look so good for 3, 4, or 5 weeks, and then they hit a little bit of a lull, and next thing you know, we're ready to sound the alarm bells. But I think once the second season rolls around here, being in the postseason, I think these teams will be back on it. Look, there's no doubt that Buffalo and Kansas City put a lot on Josh and Patrick, and they should. I mean, they're special, they're different, and it's just going to be their natural tendency to do so. But I think when you start with Buffalo, look, Sean knew before the season began that he wanted this football team to have a little bit more of a running identity and have a little bit more toughness and be able to run the football when they wanted to run it and when they wanted to take some of the pressure off of Josh and his ability to throw it. And I think they'll get back to that. I think they're still capable of doing it, and a lot of that's going to fall on Ken Dorsey, the offensive coordinator, to make sure he reestablishes that part of the game because they know they'll be able to throw it. They know Josh will be able to do heroic stuff. And I'm not really necessarily worried about that. Kansas City, look, it's kind of the same way. They have one of the best offensive lines, arguably a top 2 or 3 offensive line in the game. I mean, they can maul you when they want to. And Pacheco has brought a different style to them, a different toughness to them. But, I mean, how many times are you going to really want to just pound it up in there when you know that 15 can just do things that you can't coach. And sometimes you just stand over there on the sideline and cross your arms and go to work, buddy. Go to work. They can – now, you don't want to do that too often, but I think he knows more so than anybody what it takes to win in the postseason, that being Patrick. And he knows that, I think this year maybe his margin for error is not as great as it's been in the past because he had difference makers that could just do things that not many other people could do, namely Tyreek. So I think when it comes down to it and they get to this second season, both of those teams will play their best football, and it will be a tall task to knock either one of them out of there. And you'll have to play your very best. And we won't be, of course, it'll come down to, like every game comes down to, an explosive play here, a turnover there that may get them in the end if one of those teams ultimately, and, not everybody can make it to the Super Bowl, one of those teams get kicked out of there. But it won't be because there's some kind of glaring omission, in their game or glaring weakness in their game where we can sit back and, break our arms, pounding ourselves on the back going, see, I told you that they had this. It's not going to be that kind of situation. It's going to be because somebody else makes a play, man, and you got to give the other team credit sometimes. And I don't know. I just sometimes don't like spending so much time trying to find that gotcha point on a team as much so as I like to give the other team some credit that, there's some damn good teams, Rich, in the NFL. You cover it better than anybody. There's some good teams, man. And sometimes you just got to say, hey, that guy got me.
Lewis,
he got me on that one.
But, Lewis, this is Sports Talk Radio. How dare you come on here and be nuanced? How dare you do such a thing?
Honestly. We're losing that, aren't we? We're losing that in the coverage of this game.
You're tearing at the fabric of the Sports Talk galaxy. How dare you do such a thing? Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.